Hey y'all, I just wanted to say hi. I'm on my way home from work, and I wanted to tell y'all what happened on my lunch break today. It just broke my heart to about 1,000 pieces. So I went to a local Circle K to get a pop, like I do most of the time, and right next door to it is a hotel. And then right next to that one is another hotel. And there was a girl that was sitting out in front of that hotel. Well, she was sitting down from it a little bit. And anyway, she was homeless, clearly. So I got out of my car and I walk over there and I'm like, hi, how are you? And she said, okay. And I said, it's going to get really, really cold tonight. I said, I would really like to get you a room at this hotel for the night. At least you'll be warm, and she said, well, that would be great. And I said, okay. And I was just going to put it on my card, and we walked in there and they said, we can't do that. They said, we let homeless stay here, but they have to have a voucher. She said you could probably get her a room next door. And I said, okay. So me and her walked to the other hotel that was the next door to that one. And I went up there, and it was a little bit more upscale of a hotel, okay? But it wasn't the Hyatt or nothing, all right? So we walk in there, and he says, can I help you? Well, first of all, there was a guy in front of us, so we was waiting. And I asked her, and I said, do you have an ID? And she said, no. And I said, okay. Well, the guy could hear everything we were saying. And so when we got our turn, I said, I would like to get a room for her, if I could, for the night. And he says, well, I would have to have a copy of an ID of everybody that's in the room. First of all, I've never heard of that. I've never had to do that ever in my life, okay? And I said, well, she doesn't have an ID. I just want to get her a room for the night. And he says, I'm not renting a room to her. I'm not doing that. And he just went on about his business like we wasn't even standing there. And I felt so bad for her, y'all. I was crushed. I turned around and looked at her, and I said, I am so, so sorry. I said, I am so sorry. And I said, I tried. I mean, what else could I do? By that point, she was like over going anywhere with me. So I went in the store, and I got my drink, and I come back out, and I gave her a little money. It wasn't much. And I said, please go get you something to eat at least. And I said, try to go to the Mission for tonight. It's going to be below freezing. And she hugged me, y'all, so tight. And she said, thank you so much. And it just, the point of this story is, how dare people look their nose down at others? Because I can tell you, just in a snap of a fingers, it can be you, it can be me, it can be anybody down on their luck and in the same spot she was in. And it just really, really broke my heart, y'all. And I couldn't believe it. But anyway, I told her, I said, do you know Jesus? And she said, yes. And I said, well, that's really great. And I said, this is from him. And she's like, okay. She said, thank you. And she smiled. And y'all, there is some good in the world still, but there's still a lot to be done. And that man at that hotel not only snubbed his nose at her, but snubbed his nose at me for trying to help her. And that was really bad. But anyway, I just wanted to tell y'all about it and vent a little bit, because it really was sad and it broke my heart, and I cried and everything when I got back to work. So anyway, I love y'all. Jesus loves y'all. Please try to be kind to another human being, because you just never know what somebody else is going through. And I love y'all. Keep it simple.